Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And today on the lamp bench, we have a very unusual, I would say, non-typical lamp. I believe this lamp was made in Turkey or somewhere close by. It's the same style of quite a few that I've seen before that I do know came from there. And it's simply not made in the way that we're used to seeing lamps made in either Europe, United States, China, or any other large industrial manufacturing center. I'm fairly certain this wasn't made for export to the United States. And I've seen quite a few of these in the original condition, and the way they're generally made is that they have a cord that has a thumb switch on it, and just a socket inside this piercework globe up here. And of course, when a tourist buys one or finds one in their grandmother's attic or whatever, they first realize that, well, the standard American plug that's familiar to the rest of us, it has the European plug on it. And there's no real solution to that except to replace the cord. Now, for some reason, in this case, they have used a cord without any kind of a switch on it. And then on top of that, they have put a regular type socket inside here, which has a key switch on it, which of course you can't get to. So the solution to that was, get it out of here, a specially made adapter which converts any lamp with a metal body into a touch lamp, just like you saw. It's even got 3 levels in there. Touch it once, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and then it turns off. Well, the owner in this case has decided that she wants to have a more conventional lamp with just a regular socket inside of it and a switch on the cord. One thing that gives away the amateur work of the conversion is the fact that this socket, which has the key, the switch that you can't reach, is just sitting in there. There's no nut or anything. It may have fallen off, be down in there somewhere, but I suspect that was just the way it was made. Now, I've always been kind of fond of these kinds of lamps because the technology that makes them goes back basically to the Bronze Age. Even though this is brass, it's all pretty much the same stuff as far as this is concerned. With the globe turned upside down, I have found a mark here that says Hong Kong. So this lamp's not from Turkey, it's from China. And Hong Kong, when it was a British crown colony, there is no telling how old this is. I would suspect it's probably from the 50s or 60s. At that time, as I understand it, Hong Kong was filled with thousands of little small shops, little small factories where this sort of stuff was made. This pierce work would have started out as a piece of sheet brass, and they would have hammered it over a rounded wooden form, and as they got it into this shape, somewhere along here it would be soldered together, and then they would start punching out this design all the way around, which is amazing because the circles are bigger here in the middle, smaller in the bottom, on the edges. The candlestick, the lamp trunk itself, is made up in sections. Each of these are cast, and they would be cast in a little small foundry there in the factory or the shop, and put on a lathe, turned down and polished to this outside edge. And again, melting brass and a lathe, two of the oldest industrial technologies in the world going back thousands of years, haven't changed much. So you could set up a shop with fairly low tech and but quite skilled labor and make lamps like this all day long. Now for hardware, I'm going to discard this socket. Really no point in having a keyed socket in a place where you can't reach your hand. And I'm not really happy with the way it was installed because, as I suspected, that piece just sits in that hole in there. It's not fastened down with any kind of nut or anything like that. And I have to figure out a way to do this. Fortunately, this little neck right here is smaller than the pipe. So I should be able to put threads in here, and we'll have a nice solid foundation for our keyless socket to fit. What I need to do is tap threads in here for 1/8 inch iron pipe. Now this is a thread and a pipe size that goes back to the days of gas lamps. 1/8 inch pipe, which would have had a 1/8 inch inside diameter, was the small pipes that went to individual gas jets. And as gas gave way to electric, the lighting retained this particular thread. And any lamp you take apart today is going to have these kinds of threads in it. Sort of a little fossil of the Industrial Revolution. And that is the way it's done. Now that all the prep work is done, we can start the assembly. And what I'm doing here is what I call the string of beads method, which means that everything that this cord is going to go through has got to be on the cord before you can put it together. And that starts with this little brass nut right here. Now I run this up through here, which all the way out. And now I can actually put my socket together. Now every lamp video contains the same little sermon, and I repeat it because if I don't, somebody will say something in the comments. But first up is at the base of every socket like this, you have to have the underwriter's knot. Now, some lamps you can put this knot somewhere further down where it can't go through a hole, but it serves the same purpose. This keeps this cord from getting yanked out from underneath the terminal screws if someone were to trip over the cord, and which of course would be 2 live wires down inside a steel pipe, and then you bend over to pick it up and you get shocked. So that's very important. Second, on all cord sold in the United States for lamps, one side is smooth, one side is ridged. If you can't see them, you can actually feel them with your thumbnail. And that is to tell you which wire goes on which screw, which we have a brass colored screw, silver colored screw. And the wire with the ridges goes under the silver screw. Get it down nice and straight. And you'll notice this is a pre-made electrical cord for lamps, so the tip of the wire is soldered. If I was using regular wire off the roll, I would have to solder the tips of it before I put it under the screw terminals. Because if you have a multi-stranded wire under a screw, it's really impossible to get it tight. The wires will splay out, and as soon as you turn your back, it'll be loose. Now we can run the cord, the knot, all the way up into here, and this socket shell, and we just snap it together. And should never come loose unless you find the little secret spot where you press on it, and that releases one of the teeth that holds it together. Get it back in there. Okay, now it's snapped in place. It's not coming loose. So, take this and
pull it down. Now this whole thing is made of fairly lightweight brass, except for this one part where these screw threads are. And what I'm going to do is run this all the way down through here, running that piece of pipe down onto through the threads that I just made. And I'm getting this cord all twisted up, but that'll be straightened out before we put it back together. Then I pull my little brass nut up the cord and run it up on the end of that pipe. And I always use the blue thread lock when I'm assembling a lamp, because that ensures that none of this is going to come loose when somebody is changing a light bulb or just through the ordinary everyday life of a lamp. And the pliers, and that locks our socket in place in there, and it's got no bearing or force or anything on the globe. All the force is held right here. A little more Loctite on those threads. Now we're almost done. A few things we've got to take care of to make this a functioning and safe lamp. Now ordinarily where the cord comes through the base, the cord is protected by these little plastic bushings of different sizes and different styles, but this base is not going to be possible to do that. The original on here was just a little V-notch, and I have opened it up, rounded it, and then smoothed off all the sharp edges. And my compromise is going to be to put a piece of Gorilla Tape here on the bottom to hold this down. Now, before the lamp is returned to the customer, there's going to be a felt pad put on the bottom here, so that will also help hold it in place. Now, the next thing I've got to do is put a cord switch on this thing. Cord switches come in a variety of colors, of course, to match the cord you're using. They even come in this shape like this, which is a 2-position switch. Instead of just being on and off, you've got an extra setting in there where it's like a little bit dimmer than full brightness. Also, they come for the particular size of the cord you're using. This is an SPT1, which is just a number. It designates what size cord this is, and the switch is made to match it. There are larger cords, SPT2, which you found more often in floor lamps and stuff like that, but you can see that the switch for each one of them has a much different size hole there. You can't get those two confused because it simply won't work. Now, we open up the cord switch we're going to use, this little brown one. And we've got to keep track of that little nut there. We will need it later. And inside, we can see little spikes on each side. And behind this brown wheel is the actual switch. So we go to the smooth wire, not the ridge wire. The ridge wire has to remain intact. And we just simply snip it. Cut out a little piece of it, like that. And in the bottom shell, get that out of there. Turn this around and put our wire right there. Get this tape off of here. There we go. Just like that, nice and flat. And we want those spikes to dig into that smooth wire, because that's going to form our switch. Press it nice and tight, Find that little nut, don't let it get away. And then tighten it down.
Well, this is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And I do appreciate you sitting through this video with me to watch the wiring of this rather unusual lamp. And would like it if you would click the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And also, I hope to see you again in another video real soon. Again, thank you.